Down! Sit down.
A border that's barely there. This is South Africa's northern boundary, a meager wire fence. Its first defense of sovereignty, as its citizens rage against illegal immigration.
The people are dangerous, they'll be looking for you, but they'll also try to avoid you because they don't know how dangerous also you are. This job is not for the acquainted men. You must be very strong and be committed. If not committed, you will never kill on. Because we are living now in the field for a long time.
So this is the border fence, and this is no man's land, dividing South Africa from Zimbabwe. And people are clearly moving between the two very easily. How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you coming from Zim?
Yes.
When did you come? So it's very casual. People just seem to be coming and going as they please.
Put troops in each and every space. So some of the spaces must close with the obstacles, and then we know that we deploy our people in strategic positions that can cover those routes coming in here.
Madam, let's handle Sogoris. Yeah?
Hey, wake up.
You were born in Mozambique or you were born in South Africa? But you've got the citizen and ID. Ne? Or the fact is because the young lady has an ID. Ne? That's hello.
Certificate. I have a passport.
Passport.
When I was patrolling with you, you have seen there was one who was having an infant. You apprehend, you take her back to the SAPS for deportation, and you will see again. Within 3-4 hours, she will be back into the country.
A few miles from the border are shelters housing those that made it across. This one, for women and children, is full of stories of desperation and despair.
To just do something, I will go. But if I don't have anything, I'll stay.
How are you feeling right now?
My life is too tough. It's very difficult.
For some, the crossing isn't so easy. Entrapped by smugglers promising a better life. This 14-year-old girl was trafficked here with her sisters 2 years ago and hasn't seen them since.
I've gone through a lot, like they will pass through people, were robbing people, Some of them were taken away and some of them were raped. And then I ended up living here in this shelter.
No commodity on the floor.
Men too are battered and bruised as they pass through shelters, on their way to South Africa's big cities looking for work. For many, Johannesburg is the goal, the city of gold known for its mining. Now a trap of poverty and persecution. This is rare access into one of Johannesburg's hijacked buildings. This used to be a hospital and now it's home to hundreds of people who can't afford to live anywhere else. It is decrepit, it's falling apart, there's rubbish everywhere. This is not a livable situation.
So, how did South Africa get here?
Tensions at boiling point. Locals and foreign nationals head to head.
We don't scared to die, I'm telling you. South Africa will be out of continent.
But it wasn't long before it spilled over. Running battles continued with locals demanding that all foreign nationals involved in crime leave the area.
We love you, police. We feel your pain. We feel that the government is less paying you. That's why sometimes people are getting caught in these nonsenses. But please, you took an oath. Mr. Station Commander, you know the police that are dirty in your station. Fix them, fire them, transfer them to other stations that are okay. Transfer them to Hillbrow, because every police there is okay with that nonsense that is happening there.
So our biggest problem is that we keep calling on government to do something, and the only thing they're focusing on is labeling people as xenophobic. Right now we've got a crisis. We've got millions of people that we don't know who they are, their background. Some of them are mercenaries from other countries. Some of them are running away from persecution for serious crimes. But our government doesn't seem to think that is important enough. They think that dealing with xenophobia is more important than dealing with this issue of our lives being in danger. And this perceived xenophobia is only in their heads.
Now, let's pretend for a moment. Imagine that you are a South African. It's 1994. Nelson Mandela is released. Tensions are high. Emotions are high. Black people in South Africa are beaming with joy, excitement, full of hope that finally, after decades of oppression, being treated as subhumans, being excluded in the participation of the economic activity in their own country, that finally, things are going to change for the better.
We undertake to create 2.5 million jobs, to build 1 million houses for you. We do not want our people any longer to stay in squatter camps, to stay in shacks.
For me personally, as a South African citizen, I think it's a good thing, and I'm excited about the process. At last, we are given the chance to take part in the decision-making process of this country.
Does it make you proud?
Very proud, very proud. So everybody proud, and especially the old people. They never thought in their lives that they would ever have a vote in their lifetime. So this thing came as a surprise, and they're very proud of that because they never thought of it, that it could happen.
I did vote, which was wonderful. We feel the same mood, and we're all happy Even my sister here, she must have a smile because she knows what she voted for. But I didn't tell me and I didn't ask her.
Bye-bye, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, you want a kiss? Yeah, you're going to be united.
Tabanjwa ngo-1990 kuphikisana nomthetho wamabhulu. Imudi yangaphakathi emajele abantu bavuye bechuma-chuma becula amagwijo omzabalazo kuba sasisi different parties ezaziphayana. Sabetha imini yonke ndiyacinga 2 days into esayenza sesokuthiwa thina sizawuvota kanti kwakuqala si-40 swi-IDs savuya kakhulu sabonakalisa into yokubana at least ikhona into eyenzekayo.
And 30 years later, the country with the highest unemployment rate in the whole world, coming second only to Eswatini. As of 2026, the unemployment rate sits at 32.7%, and that was only the first quarter, a rise of 1.3% compared to last year's 31.4% of unemployment, which was still enormously high. To put this into perspective, that's about 8.173 million people unemployed, out of a population of roughly 60 million of the country's population. And out of this 8.173 million, about 4.7 million are the youth, which is a 45.8%. So, to say poverty and hardship is the natural order of an average South African in these circumstances would be an understatement. And while the people are still trying to process their situation.
All right, thank you so much for availing yourself here on a Sunday morning. I hope you're all feeling good after the whole events that happened in Durban yesterday. You did not enjoy yourself too much, so you're still to focus today. Let me salute my fellow colleagues, the generals and the district commissioners that are assisting me in fighting crime in this province together with my deputies, both from the policing side as well as the investigation. I'm here this morning in order to speak to you about the policing issues that are happening in KZN as well as in the Republic of South Africa. So I'm presenting this briefing to the citizens of this province and by extension, the inhabitants of the Republic of South Africa, specifically about the work of the political killings task team. It's been spoken about a lot, I'm sure you know that. Let me give a bit of a background about this political killings task team. In 2018, the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, established the Interministerial Committee, which we refer to as IMC, which consists of the Ministers of Police, the Minister of State Security, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, and Correctional Development. These ministers were given a task by the President to ensure that they deal with matters of security nature that affect political leadership in this province. You will recall that the minister had visited the family of the late Musawenkosi Qashana Mchunu in Plesisle in Pietermaritzburg in May 2018. It was then where this IMC was established by the President. So it is a committee of ministers, not a police-directed operation, but a committee that involved different departments. The IMC at the time met and listened to the investigation report that was presented, the so-called political task team that was established before them. And the observation, amongst others, was that the task team was working in silos. It was compromised and that it did not have any investigation as well as a prosecutorial plan or strategy. As a result, there was a little or no progress in the investigation and prosecution of these cases. A decision was therefore taken by the IMC to establish a national integrated multidisciplinary task team, which consists of the South African Police Service, the National Prosecuting Authority, NPA, supported by both state security as well as correctional services, which commenced its work in July of 2018 to implement the now tried and tested analysis-led and prosecution-driven investigation strategy. As a result of the excellent performance, the Political Killings Task Team has been assigned in another presidential intervention project. I can name the few: the killing of the traditional leaders in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the murders that happened in the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape. Since the establishment of this Political Killings Task Team in July 2018, the team has been investigating a total of 612 case dockets. These case dockets include murders, attempted murders, intimidation, conspiracy to commit murders, and other cases. A total of 436 suspects were arrested and charged. 156 firearms were recovered, of which 55 of them were linked directly with ballistically through our forensic testing to the political related cases. An additional 35 suspects who are members of the South African Police Service were arrested. The notable one is the one who's now in prison, who's been working with the parliamentarian who was involved in the murder, about the murder of one Siniso Makaka. We're going to talk about that later. A total of 128 accused were found guilty on 106 cases. 29 accused were sentenced to life in prison. 40 accused were sentenced between 10 to 35 years. 25 accused were sentenced between 1 to 9 years. 23 accused were sentenced between 3 to 12 months. And there's quite a lot of awaiting trial prisoners that are going to be finalized in a few weeks. So a total of sentences that is total number of years that has been given, if I add all of them, amounts to about 1,801 years of imprisonment. This is the work done by the team since 2018 to date that have led into the successful prosecution because of this integration working between the SAPS and the prosecution. On the 26th of March 2025, this year, a total of 121 case dockets that were under investigation were taken away from the task team as directed by a Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, a Lieutenant General Sibia, who was acting on the instruction of the Minister of Police to disband the team. This was done without the authority of the National Commissioner, nor I, as a Provincial Commissioner, was never informed. These case dockets have since March been sitting at the head office ever since, without any investigation work done on them. 5 of these dockets had already instruction to arrest perpetrators, but nothing has been done because a Lieutenant General Sibia, being instructed by the minister, executing instruction of the minister, withdrew all these dockets and they're sitting in archive in his office in Pretoria. God knows why. Therefore, only a total of 112 dockets which are still in court, of which 54 of them are political related and others will include parallel ad hoc, as well as the dockets that are involving the incident at Fort Hare University, and 5 of them are traditional leadership, are still with the team at this present moment. In the year 2020, a request was received from Gauteng Organized Crime Investigating Unit to assist with the investigation to dismantle the organized crime syndicate that was operating in Gauteng that was controlled in Gauteng but operating in the rest of the country and in neighboring countries. I, as a provincial commissioner, took a decision to deploy 10 members from this political killings task team to go and support this organized crime unit in Gauteng. I can tell South Africans that this decision is a cause for the disbandment letter of this team, because they overstepped their mandate of only focusing in KZN. They went to support Gauteng organized crime unit with the dismantling of a criminal syndicate. And I can confirm before the South Africans today that the investigation which these members were involved with in Gauteng has unmasked the syndicate. And this syndicate involves, amongst others, politicians who are currently serving in Parliament. The law enforcement officers include the members of the South African Police Service, the Metro Police, and correctional services. They include prosecutors in Gauteng province, the judiciary, and all these are controlled by the drug cartel as well as business people in that province of Gauteng. This act, of course, undermines the criminal justice system in this country.
And as though the frustration of poverty and the intentional incompetence and the corruption of those in government was not measly enough, when the average South African looks around, they see and experience this.
6:27 a.m. Up and grateful. Up and grateful. We don't go check our small tenants then. You know, go collect rent for all this place, South Africa.
For context, RDP houses are houses meant to be given to the poorest South Africans for free. And this guy, who is not a South African, is claiming to be receiving rent for those RDP houses. Several houses that are built by the South African government for the South African people to live in for free are owned by a foreigner, and he is getting rent from them. Firstly, what he's doing is illegal. And secondly, he has the audacity to boast about it on social media.
Zimbabwe's in the focus. We are not going anywhere. We are at this way in Damuno, South Africa, Tiripo, Sidla. We are here to stay. Zimbabwe, our flag on the comment section. Our flag, our flag, our flag, our flag. Our flag on the comment section. I sit down and listen to me very careful. I'm here and I'm hoping you in your country. Yes, I'm here and I'm hoping you in your country. 3 more roses. Finish them, guys. Finish them. Show them shaggy. Show them shaggy. See, last thing I'm Zimbabwe City. We are not going anywhere. And for seven zangits, and up there, and for seven zangits. Amuskuda kushanda imi isu tauya pano kuzoshanda mama tauya pano kuzoshanda mama sizela kuzosebenza sis uyabona base studyile we are going back to.
We've got Pakistanians that are busy abusing our people here. We have this couple that has been running a bakery for 9 years. They want to take them out because they've seen that there are a lot more Pakistanis that wants to occupy those shops.
We wanted to open a shop here in Valfordine in 70 Station Street. The Pakistanis have been told by us to say no, we're not allowed to open a shop. So they refused us from opening the shop. They told us since 3 weeks we're not allowed to open shops. Then they still carry on telling us they will assault us if we open the shop. They'll show us what they'll do if I open the shop. We went to the police station to file a case against them to see what we can do. So as we came by the police station, we've been told, because it was night, we've been told the following day we must go to the court and get a harassment form. As on our way just to come out in the street behind Pick n Pay in Cartonville, they block us, they force us to stop. The cars was parked all around us and they forced us to stop. As my husband get out and he start running, they shoot at him. And then when I tried to phone the cops, the main person, Babar, the Pakistani, he grabbed me and he threw me down on the floor. I hit my head against the bakki's wheel. And as I stood up and I started to run, I heard the gunshots. Two shots was being fired.
According to a 129-page report compiled by Stats SA and authored by Risinga Maluleke, a statistician, 5.1% of South Africa's population are immigrants. Extracted from DFA article written by Sipesihle Buthelezi, breaking down the report. Out of a population of 61.1 million people, about 3.09 million are immigrants, while 94.9% are South African born. The survey findings did not deal with the legal status of the immigrants in the country. In the report's preface, Statistician General Riseno Maluleke said the publication focuses on international and internal migration dynamics, as well as on the analysis of household consumption expenditure and income disaggregated by migratory status at national, provincial, and metropolitan levels. The report shows immigrants are predominantly male, 56.2%, compared to 43.8% female. Among the South African-born population, women make up the majority at 51.5%. Most immigrants are of working age, with the largest group aged between 35 and 39. The average age at migration is between 25 and 26 years. The majority, 83.8% of immigrants are Black African, and 42.1% are legally married, compared to 22% of the South African-born population. Nearly two-thirds, 63.6% of immigrants come from the Southern African Development Community, SADC, region. Gauteng remains the main destination. Gauteng hosts more than half of the immigrant population, 51.2%, followed by the Western Cape at 13.3%. At metro level, 27% of immigrants live in the city of Johannesburg, 12% in Ekurhuleni, and 9.2% in Cape Town. Internal migration remains significant, with 9.1 million people having moved across provincial borders at some point. Gauteng recorded the highest net gain among recent movers, with 210,803 more people moving in than out. Employment remains the primary reason for moving, with 44.8% citing economic opportunities. Education and health. Among children aged 5 to 18, 23.4% of immigrant children had not attended any educational institution, compared to 5.3% of South African-born children. However, 16.7% of immigrants reported post-school qualifications, compared to 9.9% of the SA-born population. On health, 55.9% of immigrants aged 15 and above rated their health as good, while 30.4% described it as excellent. Most respondents reported having access to healthcare services, with public clinics being the most commonly used facilities. Household income and spending. South Africa has 21.3 million households. Of these, 14 million are headed by non-migrants, 5.2 million by internal migrants, and 2.1 million by immigrants. The average household income nationally is 199,656 rand per year. Households headed by internal migrants recorded the highest average income at 253,837 rand. Immigrant-headed households reported an average income of 208,012 rand, while households headed by non-migrants recorded 178,144 rand. Average annual household expenditure stands at 138,905 rand. Internal migrant households reported the highest spending levels, followed by immigrant-headed households. The largest portion of household spending nationally goes to housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, followed by food and non-alcoholic beverages.
All right, the Department of Employment and Labour is conducting a compliance operation in Pretoria today, led by Deputy Minister Ntuthuko Sibiya. The operation is targeting businesses suspected of violating labour and immigration laws. That's why we find Newsroom Africa's Vuyolethu Yamba, who is on site. Vuyolethu, the expectation really was that this is how government was going to move, right? These sting operations that we see when South Africans rise up to raise concerns about exploitation in that particular, respect. Talk to us about what that particular operation has uncovered so far and how far really government has been, or what government has been doing really to sort of curb the exploitation of migrant workers.
Good afternoon, Linda. Well, it's still the morning, pardon me, Linda. Well, we are on the second phase of Employment and Labour. Deputy Minister Ntuthuko Sibiya really leading a team consists of JMPD, South African Police Services, and together with Home Affairs, really, Linda, to look at some of those challenges that people are really experiencing at work. One of those challenges is working with some of the people who are illegally immigrants. As we move, Linda, this is a Deputy Minister looking at some of the, those labor laws, to be specific, Linda, that are being violated. In the first venue, we have seen people being arrested. More than 20 of those people, I can only allege at this point. We will talk to the Deputy Minister just to get a sense of how many people have been arrested and also what are some of those laws that have been broken. Deputy Minister, you are busy. Let's talk about the operation today. What exactly led to it?
It's about enforcing the law. It's law enforcement. We have a responsibility as the state to enforce the laws of the Republic. So we came here in Pretoria targeting some companies that we wanted to do our work. And what we have found is that the first company that we went to, the first employer that we went to, we found that they are not complying with quite a number of our labor laws. There are a few issues that we are focusing more on. We are focusing on issues of Basic Condition of Employment Act. We are focusing on OHS, Occupational Health and Safety. We are also focusing on minimum wage to see whether they are complying with the Minimum Wage Act, but also UIF and the Compensation Fund. But further to that, we are focusing on labor migration because it's part of our responsibility, working with Home Affairs as well to look at who's working in this establishment. What we have found in the first one is that we found a number of illegal foreign immigrants. There are more than, I think there are towards 40 that we managed to take. You saw the back is full of them. And we heard that some of them ran away, but it shows that employers are not prepared to prioritize South Africans. But further to that, we managed to find that they are working long hours and they are not paid as well for overtime. So those are the big challenges.
As a result of the country's history of apartheid and the black labor being exploited, in 1995, an act was passed called the Labour Relations Act, which sought to reverse and balance the relationship between an employer and an employee in South Africa, which was beneficially one-sided in the past. Unlike the past, employees can now legally strike, dispute being fired. There is a standard minimum wage that should be decent by law, and there are basic conditions of work that employers should meet or provide for the employee, etc. These are all the rights the average South African knows and understand, and for the most part, employers who are still largely the descendants and beneficiaries of apartheid, they most likely don't like these laws. They hate them. So the loophole and the substitute is, hire people to whom these laws don't apply to, because that allows them to pay less than the standard minimum wage, overwork them, no unemployment insurance fund, no employee taking you to the Commission of Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration to dispute a dismissal or file for unfair treatment. This is how you still maintain control and maximize profits.
Can I answer? There's a question I want to answer because that everyone keeps raising. People keep saying the thing about us being afraid of whites or not dealing with white people. Can I deal with that question?
Yeah, sure, you can, brother. Carry on.
So I want to ask, have you guys heard of Fees Must Fall?
No, we've not. Just tell us.
So there's Fees Must Fall, there's Roads Must Fall, and then we have the triple BEE, and then we also had the shutdown, the looting when the former President Zuma was locked up. That was 4 times that the country shut down, and we made it clear that we were fighting white monopoly at the time. With Fees Must Fall, there were slogans where they made it clear that we want the fees to drop and then we're coming for the land. With Roads Must Fall, we were bringing down colonial statues, all colonial statues in the country, starting with Cecil John Rhodes. And then with the Zuma thing, the people believed that Jacob Zuma, the former president, was a revolutionary, and so they shut the whole country down when he went to jail. And then with the triple BEE thing, Elon Musk tried to bring Starlink to South Africa, but he refused to comply with the laws of South Africa, which means that you are supposed to have a black business partner if you want to have any kind of business in the country. And so the country said no. If he doesn't comply with that, then he cannot do business in the country. That's why he started this whole rumor about the G site the fake G site that's going on, which is not going on. So that's how many times are we supposed to fight white monopoly until people realize that we're actually not afraid of these white folks. Now, the problem is every time we fight these white monopolists, every time we fight these white businesses, it is the illegal immigrants who take the jobs. They are the ones who say, no, we don't mind working for peanuts. We don't mind working with you calling us the K word, which is similar to the N word in America. I don't know if I can say it, so I'm not going to say it. But, you know, they don't mind being called the K word. They don't mind being beaten up by a white man. South Africans do. We stand up when we're being called the K word, when we're being disrespected, when we're being paid less. We actually go out there and we boycott. But when we boycott, it is the illegals that take the businesses. So unless we deal with these illegal immigrants who ran away from the governments in their country, instead of solving their problems, they want to disrupt us whenever we fight white monopoly. So this idea that South Africans are scared of whites and we don't fight white monopoly is garbage. It's the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard in my life, and it has been proven over and over again. When we do fight white monopoly, nobody says anything, nobody flinches. But whenever we deal with illegal immigrants who disrupt us, whenever we fight white monopoly, then all of a sudden we're these xenophobic people. And again, one of the other South Africans mentioned that there are other African nationals that we don't have a problem with. I recently went to Lesotho because my grandmother on my mother's side is from Lesotho, so I have family there. I went to Lesotho. One of my cousins, Lesotho cousins, said to me that he wants to come to South Africa and get himself a wife. I told him, yeah, you can totally come through and get us. It didn't even occur to me that I'm speaking to a foreigner and telling him that it's okay to come here and find himself a wife. Because South Africans consider Sotho people, Namibian people, Tswana people, and Swati people, they consider them South Africans, not because they are neighbors. Zimbabweans are our neighbors too. We don't consider them South Africans. So are Mozambicans. We don't consider them South Africans. Why? Because of their behavior, because of how they behave. If you behave like us, we consider you one of us. We said the same thing to Kenyans. We said, look online how South Africans and Kenyans interact with each other. We call each other cousins. We celebrate each other and all those things. When you come to our country and you behave, South Africans don't even mind if you're illegal. Now, I'm against all illegal immigrants, whether they're from Lesotho, Namibia. I'm against all illegal immigration. I feel like a country should be sovereign and a country people should abide by the law when they come here. But I'm talking about the average South Africans. You know how many people from Swaziland, how many people from Namibia? I have friends from Namibia. They are here as South Africans. They are treated as South Africans by South Africans. Whenever they go online and we have debates about illegal immigrants, they talk like South Africans and they're not told to go back home. I told South Africans that I have a grandmother who's from Lesotho. Not a single one of them said that I'm half Kwerekwere or I'm half foreigner. But if I said that my grandmother was from Nigeria, that'd be a whole different story. It's because of the behavior, not because they are foreigners, because we do have people from other countries that we've integrated with and we don't even see the difference. between them and us because they behave like South Africans and they respect people as South Africans. Now, somebody said something about South Africans go overseas. Well, when we go overseas, we go there legally. We abide by the law, and we don't go there to sell children. That's another thing. Before I continue with that, that's another thing. People act like we are fighting Nigerians because they're taking our jobs and they're taking our women. Like I said, Sotho people come here and take jobs and women. Namibians come here and take jobs and women. The other people I mentioned. People from Botswana come here and take jobs and women. Nobody flinches, no South African. In fact, we encourage them. I'm asking myself, people are talking about, no, Nigerians, they are hardworking people and there's so much skills. Where are these skills? Why can't these skills contribute to the country? Let's talk about China. When they invested in human capital, which is the skills that can make you money, when they invested in human capital, the economy improved. When Dubai invested in human capital, the economy improved. When Singapore invested in human capital, the economy improved. Why is it that Nigeria is the only country on the planet that when they invest in human capital, as they claim, where they have all these skills, but for some reason the economy does not improve, in fact, it gets worse? I don't believe any of that is true. I don't believe that people hate Nigerians because they have skills and Zimbabweans because they are hard workers. I don't think so. Where they get this idea that we are lazy is when we boycott the white monopolists or the white supremacists who disrespect us, and the white people tell them, well, you guys are hard workers, come and work for us. These guys are lazy. They call us lazy because we won't allow them to call us the K word. We won't allow them to pay us peanuts. We won't allow them to disrespect us. So they call us lazy. And Nigerians and Zimbabweans and these people who are willing to comply and allow themselves to be disrespected, that white people tell them, these guys are lazy. You guys should come here and work for us. And so then they go with that. And then they start spreading that rumor that South Africans are lazy and they don't want to work. It is pure garbage. It is nonsense.
Okay.
So, yeah, those are the few. I forgot the other points because I was here for a long time. I can't remember everything.
Yeah,
but
no, I'm going to be asking
anyone...
questions. It's fine. My brother said that if all foreign nationals were to leave, South Africans will suffer. Do you agree? Because even the menial jobs, you'll still not be able to do them. So why don't you just let the documented foreign nationals... That is the biggest load rubbish I ever heard in my life. Come again? That is nonsense. Okay. Like I said, when our people, a lot of our people, especially our youth, have gotten used to not investing in their own skills, because whenever they started tuck shops, the Ethiopians who have a tuck shop cartel, something we've never heard of before, they chase our people they drive our people out of business. They started off by making the products cheap. Now they are literally bullying our people. And some of those videos that you show, where you show them chasing away illegals and punching that guy and doing whatever, you guys don't show the videos when the South African tuck shop owners were crying and saying these people do not want to allow us to have our own tuck shops. An Ethiopian was telling them that their boss will not allow them to sell whatever they want. If they're going to sell, they're going to sell acha, or they're going to sell bread, but they can't sell Coke, they can't sell this. Be like, who the hell are you coming all the way from Ethiopia to come to South Africa and tell us what we can and cannot sell? That you won't show on the video. That's the problem that I have with people who are complaining about xenophobia. They never show the part where our people are being kidnapped, when our people are being thrown into they perform human sacrifices on our people to make money. They kidnap our kids and sell our minors to grown adults. People have had enough. So do they get extreme? Yeah. But you know what? At this point, I understand, because it's been 30 years and we've accommodated all foreigners for 30 years, legal or illegal. But we spotted the ones that behave when they're here, even when they're illegal. And those people, we don't see a difference between us and them. But the ones that we've noticed that are doing heinous things to us, those are the ones that we differentiate and distinct ourselves from. So when someone says to me, South Africans, do you think it's okay for you to punch into it? You know what? When you've heard your neighbor's daughter was missing and it was found in a Nigerian, brothel, and you know, it comes to a point where you no longer care anymore. It comes to a point where you no longer, and I'm not gonna, honestly, I'll tell you one thing. I don't care if I'm called a coon after this. I am not going to attack my white neighbor who's just trying to live life and just trying to survive and has done nothing to me, and at times will leave their kids with me to look after, meaning that they trust me and they see me as a human being. When my daughter gets kidnapped by a Nigerian, or my son is sold drugs, forced into drugs by Nigerians, I'm not going to go and attack my white neighbor who's just trying to live life and then say to the Nigerian, oh no, we're brothers, hey, one Africa, one. That's not going to happen.
We have had enough of Pan-Africanism in this country. 30 years, we tried to accommodate illegals, foreigners in general. Even the ones who are documented, the reason why they're also getting targeted now is because they are either quiet or complicit when the illegal immigrants are doing these crimes. So this is why South Africans have had enough and saying, you know what, even the documented foreigners should leave.
Okay.
Because they're not standing in line with us to help us fight these illegals. They are arguing against us whenever we fight people that are destroying our country. So this idea that these people we are these cowards and we're afraid of white people. My question is, are they brave for working for the same people that we are boycotting and fighting against? Are they brave for running away from their government?
In countries, I think it's very disappointing. I mentioned this in the meeting as well, to see the posture that African countries continue to assume when it comes to leadership of their own people. African countries are comfortable with being failures, majority of them, of course not all of them. There are very few African countries that can really stand for what is right and stand for their people. South Africa luckily is a country with human rights and has emphasized the importance of protecting the human rights of all. And I think that's why we've become a hub for people wanting to be protected from their own governments. Unfortunately, it's not a fair position to put a country in, because South Africa is a country, like I said before, that has to take care of its own people. South Africa has a responsibility to the people who vote for the country. South Africa even has a responsibility to the taxpayers of this country. And it's ridiculous to expect that South Africans must absorb every single problem from every single African country. I mean, there's other African countries that are doing well. Let's look at Egypt, Morocco, they're doing well. Ethiopia and Somalia are much closer to Morocco and Egypt, but they never lean towards that area. And I mean, they have a common thing. They've also, all of them identified themselves as more Arabs than they are African. So it leaves you with the question, why are the Arab countries not naturally migrating to the Arab affiliated countries? Why is everyone trying to come into this small country? And there's only one answer to that, it's our laws. And our laws have allowed us to become victims of even the worst kind of criminals. I mean, we sat in a meeting with the Department of Home Affairs who told us that someone who is caught in Botswana or runs away from Botswana comes to South Africa and looks for refugee or asylum seeker status, but they're running away from the death penalty in Botswana, cannot be taken back to Botswana by law in this country, even if they committed all of those crimes. So we asked, okay, what's the next best thing that you do with the person like that? Because naturally, we don't want them in our community either. And the Department of Home Affairs says that no, there's nothing that they can do because this person was not prosecuted in South Africa. They were prosecuted in Botswana, but now they're facing the death penalty, so we cannot take them back to be prosecuted in their own country, regardless of whether or not this person is the worst kind of criminal, a cannibal at worst. We can't do anything about it because that is what our laws have allowed. And when you go and do a background check about it, you find out that South Africa entered this United Nations agreement, and when they entered this agreement, they took it copy and paste as it is, didn't even look at the current situation or whether or not this is our country, we need to take care of it, and they just signed it off and said, oh, we're not even going to have refugee camps for refugees, everyone must just integrate. Now this is where the problem is. You can't forcefully integrate people with people that they don't want to. Rights of South Africans have been infringed by our own government, because government is meant to go through a consultation process with South Africans to ask them if they want to integrate with certain people, and we're supposed to have a voice on that. That's why they had to redo the whole immigration process and introduce the white paper, because we were never consulted about the whole thing of refugees. So with African countries, they're becoming more and more complacent. And what I mentioned is, you can see even this whole thing of South Africa being xenophobic, being the biggest thing that all these African countries now are talking about. I'm talking about countries who slaughter their people in front of television cameras, You've never heard a single African country make noise about it. You've never seen all these African countries gather each other and say, the president of Ghana, president of Kenya, let's come together. How are we going to fix the issue in Sudan? You've never heard that. They don't do that when it comes to that. They've never said, oh my gosh, in Nigeria, there's Christians who have been killed by Muslims. How are we as the African Union or people who are presidents of Africa who want to see the continent thrive going to come together and fix this problem? They don't care about that. Their biggest thing is about South Africa because they know very well they stand to benefit more from the resources and the minerals that they exploit from each other's countries. That's why they keep quiet. That's why even our own government, I know the Premier is going to be very upset because he doesn't like me criticizing the government. But unfortunately, as he's the Premier, I'm a representative of the people. I'm going to say it as it is. We have a lot of politicians disguised as politicians, but they're actually business people. That's why they put their business interests before the people, and that's why we find ourselves here. Thank you.
South Africa's story, or rather present state, is what happens when the government is incompetent and corrupt, when the people in leadership are so far removed from the reality and the consequences of their actions, while the average man at ground level has to constantly take fall and deal with them. It is a story of what happens when economic pressure mounts and the native starts looking around and realizes that maybe, just maybe, he might be getting the short end of the stick. It is a story of what any native does when they start feeling like their safety is being threatened, their culture is being threatened, their prosperity is being threatened, especially so if the visitor doesn't want to and doesn't make effort to assimilate. But it's nothing new. In this very same continent of Africa, the same happened in 1969 when Ghana issued Aliens Compliance Order requiring undocumented immigrants to leave the country within a specific time frame, a move similarly stemming from economic hardship and labor competition. The same happened in reverse in 1983 when Nigeria did the same thing when it had economic challenges following the oil boom that had attracted many migrants. An expulsion of over 2 million migrants, including Ghanaians, was ordered. And presently, globally, countries like the United States of America have and are facing and tackling the same challenge. The UK is having the same issue. France is having the same issue. Ireland is having the same issue, etc. This is a global problem, a real problem. And to call and paint South Africa as xenophobic for simply attempting to answer the same question many countries are trying to answer is disingenuous.
Is it possible that you guys paint the full picture? Please, we're not saying paint us as angels. We don't care what you call us. But paint the full picture. Go and tell those stories of South Africans who have been run out of the tuck shop business because Pakistanis and Somalians have told them they can't open tuck shops in their own country. Tell those stories of South African children who can't find spaces in schools. Tell those stories of women who are South African giving birth on the floor because they don't have space. Because Zimbabwe has terrible health care and therefore everyone who wants to give birth comes to South Africa.
Yeah.
We want you guys to tell the full story. Don't tell a one-sided story. You are the ones that are going to cause a fight when there's no fight. Because someone who's in the country illegally shouldn't even be protected. They must know, I'm in the country illegally, therefore I must go. Why is it so painful to tell someone who's in the country illegally they must go? Why are NPOs getting worked up and NGOs getting worked up, Daily Maverick every day and ground up have articles every day about xenophobia in the country? Ask them to tell us about those children who are dying in spaza shops, not a single article. So it's us who must die.
Yeah.
It's fine when it's our children that are dying, it's okay. No media finds that problematic. You guys don't think it's a problem when we're watching Sizokuthola every Sunday and Nigerians are caught selling drugs every Sunday? That's not a story, it's not newsworthy. The only newsworthy thing is when a foreigner gets scratched. Oh, they scratched the foreigner.